Hello, everyone, and welcome to DisruptEDtv, where every little idea that we offer on this program is hopefully an idea that you can use to create big changes and make a difference in your school. And our guest today is Dr. Kathleen Pierce, Rider University, College of Education and Human Services. I got that right. And welcome to the program, Kathleen.
Thank you.
And the disruptive idea today, Joe, and what's exciting about this is that Kathleen is now, she doesn't teach Shakespeare. She uses Shakespeare to teach. So my first question to you is, how do you take a poet who's been dead almost 500 years and bring him back to life?
Well, I issue an invitation to come to Shakesperience, which is a festival on our college, on our university campus. And that goes out to middle school and high school teachers. And they really challenge their students to breathe life into Shakespeare. So every school or group that comes to Shakesperience actually works it in its own way. We have some groups that come and they just do the straight play. Other groups come after having interrogated the sonnets, the plays, and cobbled together their own interpretation of a particular theme. So for every group that comes, we have a different kind of take on Shakespeare. And that's a credit to the teachers and students who say, yeah, we want to go to Shakesperience again. What are we going to put together this year?
Okay. Now, that event sounds exciting. And what age levels? How old are the kids?
Secondary education, so middle school, high school.
Okay, middle school and high school. And this, as I recall, as an English student, you were an English teacher.
I was.
Okay, so this is, I kind of remember it as a potentially dry subject that you can have a little bit of difficulty getting through. You've got to find a way to engage 21st century youths who are used to apps on phones.
Well,
how do you do that?
The thing about Shakespeare is, actually the thing about any good literature, any good art, is that it's timeless. And that it speaks to themes that transcend space and time and are as contemporary as this moment. And that's what's so exciting about the festival, is that before they arrive at festival, students and their teachers have interpreted Shakespeare for their times or their situations, you know? And so that's really, for me, the great joy. The festival actually had its model in a teen festival that the Folger Shakespeare runs down in DC. And so we went down there and took a look at their model. They bring kids in from all around metropolitan DC. And they have a week-long Shakespeare festival where students bring their performances to the stage of the Folger Theater. And Folger Education does a lot to try to take the kid gloves off of Shakespeare and actually help English teachers and others not be so afraid of Shakespeare, you know, because Shakespeare didn't write this stuff down, you know? It was performed. It was, you know, of his moment, right? And so I think that they've got a long way in Folger Education. They do a lot to educate teachers. They've got a free website. It's really, really terrific. And then after a few years of working the festival at Rider, we put our own spin on it. I'm a university. I have terrific colleagues in the theater arts department, people who are also musicians, people who are teachers. And so we kind of put our own community together to invite kids to come and play. And we have someone from actually who works at Folger Theater as the mistress of the revels. And she does a morning workshop about Shakespeare's language. And then in the afternoon, she presides in all her majesty over the performances on the stage at Rider. And she's terrific. Cam McGee not only brings the groups up to the stage, but then she entertains us with these interludes from Shakespeare in between performances.
Yeah, that's great.
So the key is, I was going to say, one of the keys is that the writings of Shakespeare can be interpreted for any generation.
Absolutely.
And that's what makes it so, that's why it does live every time, because everybody can interpret it to what they're looking for.
And we only ask, actually, we insist that each group performs for 20 minutes.
Okay.
So, you know, there are rules. And the rules of the performance are 20 minutes, don't alter Shakespeare's text, but you may corrupt it in any way you'd like. You know, you could kind of cobble together any way you'd like.
To make it more modern, to make it more
Well,
real.
actually, actually to make Shakespeare serve your concept,
exactly.
your performance, the expression of your idea.
And that's how you bring them to life.
Right.
That's essentially how it's done.
Yeah, and
so it's not you doing it, it's the people who participate in the program. I'm going to hold your program up for a bit
That's
so
from
people can
last
look at it.
spring, right?
Yeah, this is, but you have this in May. The program, you run the program in May for 2 days.
That's right.
Okay, great. And walk us through that a little bit. What's the program like? How does it start? How does it end?
So I issued the invitation or the challenge in January, and schools who are able to come let me know right away, and then we have our slate of performance. So actually on the back, here's the schedule.
Okay.
And so we line up our schools and or groups. Sometimes we've had groups in the past that are homeschool groups, so it's not always a school,
Sure.
Actually, there's a parochial school teacher who's retired now, but has brought kids for years. In her retirement, she and her husband get those kids down there for a performance at Shakespeare. So we have all kinds of kids who come with their teachers to perform at Shakesperience. So there's a lot of work that happens before the festival days themselves. And then once they arrive at festival with their performance, we really want them to have some serious fun.
Well,
Right?
that's
So
important.
starting in the morning, what we do is we have these amazing teaching artists who teach combat choreography, who talk about Shakespeare's text, who do body percussion, who do country line dancing, and not like our country, kind of like the peasants during
That's
Shakespeare's
what it
time.
was
right?
done.
And Dr. Tim Urban does, he plays the hurdy-gurdy as the kids.
Okay.
So not only do they learn country line dancing, but they also are exposed to music of a particular era. So we have these 20-minute workshops, and we cycle the kids through, and they're mixed up with kids who have come to the festival from all over the region.
Right.
And that, for me, is the sweetness of this festival, because I think I heard one of your guests on Disrupted, Deputy Commissioner Schulman, talked about the diversity of the state of New Jersey, right? Which is a fact. But also, it's the fourth highest segregated. Our schools are really
that's what he's talking
segregated.
about.
Sure.
So really what's terrific about Shakespeareans is that we create a community. Kids come with their performances, and then what we do is we mix them up in these workshops in the morning, and they play. They play and they learn a few things. They get to meet other kids from around the region
From other schools.
who have also come to perform.
Good.
And then we break for lunch, and we share some of what's coming up in the afternoon. A representative comes up and says, here are our concepts and choices for the afternoon. Here's what we want you to pay attention to. Then the next group comes up. And so all while we're eating our lunches, everybody's kind of priming the audience for what we're going to see, because that's pretty important work too in the afternoon. And I found that it's really important that everybody has some idea of what the performers are trying to convey.
Okay.
No, that's key. That's great. We need to take a break. When we come back, though, we're going to talk some more with Kathleen Pierce about Shakespeare and how we use Shakespeare how we bring Shakespeare into the modern age. I think that's so interesting. We'll be right back with more of DisruptEDtv after this break.
Stick around.
Thank you.
They come to Brookdale with a passion for healthcare, cybersecurity, fashion merchandising. They graduate and transfer to universities like Georgetown, NJIT, and the Fashion Institute of Technology. They begin their careers as registered nurses, security engineers, and fashion designers. This is what success looks like. And here is where it all starts. This is Brookdale, college redefined, success reimagined. Take your next step at brookdalecc.edu.
That's good.
Welcome back to DisruptEDtv. My name is Al Sini,
My name is Joe Osamendi.
and our guest today, Joe, terrific guest, Dr. Kathleen Pierce from Rider University. And we're talking about bringing Shakespeare back to life and a particular program that Rider offers once a year, Shakesperience. And I was mentioning during the break that I had a really good English teacher. They're all good, but I had a really good one. And I remember him teaching all of us the lines of Shakespeare were not really written to be read, they were written to be expressed, to be articulated.
Right.
So when you get kids, you're talking about high school age kids and junior high school kids.
Middle school, sixth. We've had them as young as sixth grade.
Well, wow, and when you get them to express Shakespearean lines, what kind of a change do you see in them?
Well, I think the change. Well, first of all, they impress each other because everybody brings a performance to the festival.
Right.
And we play all morning in the workshops and whatnot. We are uncostumed during lunch. You know what I mean? Everybody's kind of still in their street clothes and explain their concepts and choices and eating lunch and fooling around. And then we go into the festival proper. And they just blow each other away. So these are these adolescent students who have performed something, or who have prepared something and then perform it on our stage. And so you just hear kind of a hush and then you hear the applause, how they impress each other with trying to convey an idea. I'm not an actor, I'm not a theater professor, that's not my background. And so the focus of the festival is it's not a drama competition, it never has been. And so the idea is to convey something of significance, something that is bothersome, that is of our times, that is true of human nature. We're jealous, we're spiteful, we're in love, we're ridiculous. All these themes that are pretty eternal, sixth graders are conveying in their performance, you know, as are, you know, seniors in high school I wouldn't say with varying levels of sophistication. I would say all the ideas are terribly sophisticated and terribly mature. And so that's what impresses the audience, who's mostly the performers, right?
Sure.
So the 12th graders are impressing the 6th graders as the 6th graders are impressing the seniors in high school, because, you know, they're really bringing something meaningful to bear on the stage. Yes. And, you know, there's kind of my tagline for the festival is serious fun.
Right.
You know, this idea that the ideas are meaningful, but we're playing at this. And that really taps into the idea, my philosophy of education, which is not solely my idea, but the idea in order for it to have relevance, you've got to get your hands on it. Right. You have to create something original. So we really are using Shakespeare to our own ends, right? And I think it's important for anything that we're teaching in school to be connected to the world outside.
The beauty of your program too is if you were professional actors, that's just going through the motions. But these people and these kids are really taking and being emotional about it.
Kids are feeling it.
They have a feeling that they're conveying because they aren't professional. Professionals just read it by rote.
Right, and I think that that's true. You know, I know one of the purposes of this program is to help people think about how they might bring this into their own classrooms.
Right.
You know, so you might not be able to afford the bus and the registration fee to come on up to Ryder, but in your own classroom, there are ways to interrogate a poem.
Right, sure.
And then present that and express an interpretation of that. There's something called Reader's Theater that really can go across the curriculum, where students take a part of a text and bring a personal interpretation to it. How is this meaningful? And so I think shared with then other students, everyone is benefiting from someone else's synthesis of that.
Right.
And so I think Shakespeare has a particular cachet. For one thing, I know this from my years of teaching, when kids got Shakespeare, when they're like,
The light goes off.
They're pretty smart, yeah.
Right. He makes everybody feel smart, right?
Yeah,
if you get it, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a terrific way to, you know, bring everybody into the tent.
No, that is a great idea. Well, you're trying to get kids to be their best selves, and you're giving them the ultimate expression of your best self, which is Shakespeare, as a tool to do that with.
Absolutely.
And you know, following up on Joe's point, they're taking problems in their daily lives here in the 21st century, using 400-year-old words to express those problems in novel ways and in different ways, and I think that makes it really relevant. And do you find that the students who participate in this support each other, or do they criticize each other? Or?
Oh, there is no criticism.
Really?
It's just awe and compliments.
Wow.
And that's one of the things too. The theater faculty, Trent Blanton, Rebecca Simon, Chris Parks, They really think hard and seriously when we're backstage. The kids get T-shirts during our, we have this little interlude between the finale, the end of the performances and the finale on festival day. And we trade festival surveys, because we have data for, how's it going, right? Surveys for T-shirts, right? And we're backstage and we're thinking about, okay, so what do we think about this group, right? What about their choices? What about the concept? What about the characterizations? And then we award each group for social relevance, fidelity to text, spirit of the festival. This idea that throughout the day, kids from this particular group, for instance, in Spirit of the Festival, you've been supportive of all the kids that you've been working with, right? Backstage, you were giving lines to your classmates on stage. So, there are lots of things we're looking for, but the experience of Shakesperience, the opportunity that we've created there kind of brings out the best of everybody in the community, and that's what teachers who continue to bring students to Shakesperience know, is that when they come there, everybody's going to be respected and appreciated.
There's something in every performance that can be recognized in a positive way.
Absolutely.
That's
and
good.
It's for me probably the most special time, because everybody's finished their performances. Some are wearing their T-shirts, and our commentators come out on stage, and they riff a little bit on what this group did and that group did, and they acknowledge certain performances, and it's so stellar, because they
as you speak,
really
you can almost hear the energy coming out.
Oh, it's wonderful.
You feel the energy.
And then everyone in the room, right, who experienced the same thing, is nodding, appreciating, and these are the professionals on stage, right? Rebecca, Trent, Chris, they're the theater pros, and they are acknowledging this. They're just like, yes. So it really honors everyone's work of the entire day. So, and that's the conclusion. And I just have this really funny experience every year, every day of the festival.
That's great.
Everybody just doesn't want to go.
They just can't.
They don't want to
over,
end.
Exactly what you
like,
want.
I want to go.
Okay, we have to take a break. We'll be back with to continue our conversation with Kathleen Pierce. Maybe talk a little bit more about how you do this for schools out there that might want to try something like this on their own. We'll talk a bit about that. Thank you, Kathleen Pierce. We'll be right back after this break.
Okay, stick around.
Thank you. And I think it's pretty good. Welcome back to DisruptEDtv. My name is Hamlet.
I'm Julius Caesar.
And this is Julius Caesar. Alcini and Joe Asamendi. And
we're in Shakesperience.
This is a Shakesperience.
Wow.
But we're here talking with Dr. Kathleen Pierce from Rider University, who brought us our wardrobe change today. And Rider offers a program called Shakesperience, and that's what we're talking about. I want to talk about the logistics of the program and how you mount a program like this, because there are hopefully people out there that are thinking they could do something and they know they can do something like this.
Right.
So we'll help them with that. But before we do that, it's not just about Shakespeare. I mean, there are costumes, there are sets, there are other artistic expressions besides Shakespeare. You mentioned hurdy-gurdy from period pieces, those kinds of things.
Right.
So you're really involving lots of different kinds of
the
artistic
expressive arts, and then all the expressive arts. And when teachers are putting together a group of students who are going to come to festival, sometimes they even think about who's going to design their program page, because each school designs a program page that we include in the larger program, right? Sometimes they've got somebody who's in charge of the road box. Some years a group has a lot of musicians, so they will do a little interlude with music that isn't necessarily in the text. So it's really up to the groups to interpret the expression of throughout the performance any way they choose. And one of the rules is kind of, Shakespeare didn't need electricity, so you don't either. So if you're going to play music, it's going to be
Acoustic.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
So no electronics, and so it forces, it's, in complexity theory, there's this notion of enabling constraint.
Sure.
Right.
And that's really, I think, what good curriculum does, good curriculum design does, is it kind of lets everybody in to play, but it also guides you to know we can do this, we can do that, we can't do that. So the rules kind of level the playing field. So nobody's going to be bringing, electronics. Nobody's going to be blasting us out with music. Some groups might have dance. Some might have unaccompanied song. So, there are lots of ways that schools groups through the years have interpreted their particular performances.
Promotes creativity.
Absolutely.
Well, that really sparks the imagination.
Right,
That's such a
exactly.
great point.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not having people memorize things. You're having people create things. That's
Right.
a whole different, much more engaging.
Well, and it's much more intellectually
Sure.
sophisticated.
I mean, that's the kind of brain activity you create with this. That's wonderful.
Right.
Now, about the program itself, because there could be people out there wondering how they could mount something like this. Does it take a lot of time? Does it cost a lot of? How do you do it?
Well, I invite people to come to Ryder, where we have really specialized now in putting on this festival. So I have these colleagues who join me every spring to kind of create what we have at Ryder. And we have the facility at Ryder. Thank you, Ryder.
The theater.
We have a theater and we have a dance studio. So we run our workshops in the same Bart Ludicky Center, the Student Center on campus. So we run the workshops, we run the performances, we have lunch in one building on campus. And I'm the shop. I'm the one who organizes it. Teachers call me. I do everything from ham sandwiches to T-shirts to, let's stagger the performances so we don't have Midsummer Night's Dreams all bumping into each other, right? So I'm the person who really kind of
Pulls it together. You need an advocate and somebody who's willing to cross the T's and dot the I's on the whole process. That's what you've done, but it's not your full-time job.
Oh no, not at
No,
all.
that's important.
Oh,
It's important to remember this is not all that Kathleen does.
Well,
I mean, you managed to
actually,
squeeze this into a pretty busy schedule.
Well, yeah, and I have teaching responsibilities, scholarly responsibilities,
Sure.
and I have a partnership with a few schools, so we tend those too. This is my labor of love because it brings together, invites students to create community during Shakespeare with my community, with people. I might not see some of these colleagues all year, but we get together every May and we put on Shakesperience.
And for
right?
a couple of days every year, it's a chance to be a great English teacher again.
Well, or at least the guide on the side,
Well,
right?
That's good.
Remember, you're teaching teachers. I mean, you're creating educators. So
well,
what
I
you're
think
doing
it's
is,
important. I'm sorry, I didn't mean
No,
to-
go ahead.
I think it's important that the teachers who bring their students are actually having this creative outlet and expression too, because this is something that is a joy for them.
Sure.
To be hanging out with kids after school and deciding on what they're going to bring to Shakesperience, to be supporting kids in their playful seriousness, in their working through what they're going to bring to festival. It's a real mission for every teacher who brings a group of students to Shakesperience. It's he or she is guided by a certain mission and sense of this is really important and I'm going to support the kids to get there to do this. I think individual school communities could sponsor something like this. For years, Folger advocated having a festival so that the whole school would kind of rally around this. I put my own spin on this. I think a school community could get around anything in terms of this is our theme and we're going to support it in
We'll figure it out.
some kind.
Let's figure it out. I mean, you had the support of your dean. I know you wanted to express some
Sure.
gratitude for that.
For sure. And we also, I have to express gratitude to Janssen because they were able to give me some money to bring in students who couldn't afford the bus ride as well as
great.
lunch. So that's really made it possible for a number of schools to join us and also increase the diversity of the group that's celebrating. That's really
It's
been
never a bad
significant.
idea to involve other members of the community, especially the business community, in any kind of a school activity. So as a model for other schools, for teachers who might be watching, for school administrators who might be watching, This is the kind of thing that you can do within a school district, or even within a classroom in a school, on a scaled down basis.
Sure. Even think about how your high school students could help mount this at the middle school,
Yeah.
or how your secondary students could mount this in elementary school.
Yeah.
You know, with a little bit of imagination and sense that, hey, let's get on board with this. This is really important.
It's entertaining.
You know, and that's where you're speaking to our mission too, because what you're really doing is encouraging your students, who are future teachers, to think outside the box and come up with programs like this in their schools when they become teachers. I mean, this is the kind of creativity you want to see everywhere.
Well, I think what's most important is that it connects. We create community for a day. That's terrific. But we're really interrogating ideas that are important.
Right.
And that's something that, you know, you're never too young to do. And I think we waste a lot of time. We waste kids' time a lot in schools. And so this is a way for kids to really think about and work on ideas that they think are important with other kids. You know, they really argue it out, prepare something, have pride in their ideas, and then pride in expressing that. Whether you're the person who's carrying the roadblocks,
Doesn't matter.
or whether you're the person who is the main character.
Yeah, terrific. Well, Dr. Pierce, you've been a terrific guest, and this has been a fun subject to explore with you. It really, plenty of ideas in this that other people can use, but we're at that point in our program where you get to tell everybody how to reach you, and so go ahead and do that, and why they should call you and how you can help them. So
That's right.
go ahead and do
Actually, call me for any reason, but probably email is best. Kpierce, Pierce, at Rider, rider.edu. And I would love to talk curriculum, and I'd love to talk about how you might actually explore some partnerships at the school level and community level. I think it's really a significant way for kids to interact with adults and interact with each other.
Great subject. Terrific. Dr. Kathleen Pierce,
Thank you.
thank you so much for joining us today on DisruptEDtv, and thank all of you for tuning in and listening in, and hopefully you've learned one or two ideas from Dr. Pierce that you can use in your school or in your school district. And my name is Alcini.
And et tu, Brute. I
Et tu,
haven't said that for a long time, and I'm glad to say that.
You can live a whole life without ever delivering that line.
Absolutely, that's what Shakespeare was in high
Always a
school for.
pleasure.
That's exactly right.
Thanks very much. Tune in
Thank you,
again for
Kathleen.
another episode of DisruptEDtv.
Yeah,
Thank
bye.
you.
Join us again. I knew
Great.
I'd come up with that.
That was perfect.
Well done.